Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'll be going through the AFL Fantasy 2025 Team Vanilla as of January 29th. We know that obviously there are an injury to Philippou that will tank his ownership. It's already gone down 17% and it's been spread mostly except for the straight swap with Sanders. So this will obviously change in the next couple of days, slightly, but this is currently the team vanilla of options as a lot of people, and you'll see this with the midfields. The midfield line is completely different to what a lot of people actually have. It's very, very diverse in the fact that the highest ownership in the midfield, I believe, is at the moment, if you take Clayton Oliver, who's the obvious sort of mid-pricer, the highest ownership is 27% out of everyone non-rookie based. Whereas if you look at other lines, the low is almost at 27%. But anyway, let's just jump into this and get into it. So, as you see here, and I forgot to actually sort out this, give me 1 second. I sorted out most of the lines, but let me just sort out this line for you here. If you actually look at this, this could be the exact setup that most of us have going into round one, if Kitty Coleman gets up. Like, this is a pretty common setup that I've seen throughout. If we go and look at the ownerships of players that have missed out, you'll see that Gibcus, Flanders, McKercher are probably the big three that have missed out, and you have Zach Reid down there at the bottom. He's on, I think, 19%, is it? 24%. So on a technicality, no, he's the 9th defender, sorry. I got my maths wrong there, but yeah, he's the 9th most chosen defender there. And so yeah, we have the big defenders here. Yes, Sinclair is 21% owned, but he was the best. He's still in the top ownership bracket for all of the defenders. He's actually the 9th most if you think about it that way. But yeah, they are the top defenders for ownership. I chose Sinclair over Flanders just because of 3% more ownership. We know with Callum Mills is pretty much the lock out of the mid prices, I would say, especially those with the opening round at the moment. Kitty Coleman's in a race against time to get fit for opening round. Obviously, if he's fit, he will play. You would expect sometime, and if he does play, then if we look at the fixture analysis here, you'll see that even if he just scores a couple of 60s, 63, 66, he goes up 30k just like that. So that's alongside the forgetting about the opening round, which he has Geelong. So if he goes 60, 60, 60, I expect, then he'll probably jump up before round 3 just by going mid-60s. Let's say 65, 65, 65 for that sake. He should jump up a good 50k. I don't know if let me just quickly check if DFS actually has this. Supercoach, fantasy pricing projector. Let's just see Kitty Coleman if I can do that quickly. Defenders. Is there a way that I can sort of just get to Coleman quickly? Coleman here. If I was to go, say, 65, then go 65 again, and then go, say, 65 again, it's projected that in that, and I could actually just do this here, I think. Does that work? Yeah. So if he was to go 65 across the first 3 rounds, he would jump from a 521 to a 576, so 55k roughly. If he was to jump to like a 70 average, then that goes up to 74k made. So if he pops off in opening round, let's just put it like this. If he pops off in opening round and does 100, but then only does 70 for the other 2 games, he's already making 120k. So that's why it's so critical for him to get a good opening round score. And that's why he's in most teams at the moment, even though he's a race against time. But if he does get that early jump on players, let's just think about it. Let's just use Dylan Williams for the example's sake and say Dylan Williams in the pretty much same exact price bracket goes 70 and then 70. Then we can use that example to say at the same point in time with that extra game played and that 100 score, or even let's just bump this down to, 70, that makes sense to itself. But that extra 100 score will mean that in the same time frame, the same exact point in time, heading into Coleman's bye, instead of him, a player that plays round 1 and round 2 being on 566, Coleman will be on 645, which an extra game accounting for 79k is that 79k? Yeah, it looks like it. 79k in cash generation. 79k in cash generation for the same amount of points. That is why opening round is critical for the cash generators. So that's all my spiel on Kitty Coleman, and basically same appliance to Callum Mills. Jaden Short, understand this as well. Halfback role at Richmond, has done 95 in the past, if my memory serves me correct, through all the preseason content. So yeah, should be fine. Jack Sinclair, he's basically one of the only ones that everyone trusts to do sort of a top 8 defender role, and so that's why he's there. And Harry Sheezel is sort of, even though he's getting that new forward mid role, which we expect somewhere around that 50% CBAs, which could actually rise now that we just saw apparently today in preseason the fact that George Wardlaw potentially goes down with a hamstring. That could change a lot of things. And so, yeah, that could definitely mean that Sheezel or potentially even Parker just gets more game time in the midfield. But yeah, if they don't have Wardlaw, I expect someone else to pick up the slack there. And could make Colby McCutcheon a little bit less popular if he's getting that midfield time, because he's not really that... I don't think he's physically able to play that midfield role as well just yet. I think he's one of the ones that will grow into that midfield role later on in his years, in a couple more years' time. Like we had Nick Dacos, he just needed that extra year or two, Nick Dacos, to get that I guess mid capability to play that midfield role. Moving on, Travalia on the wing, he looks like he's going to get that round 1. Bo Allen, I haven't heard much about that West Coast midfield, to be honest. I've just heard injury after injury. But yeah, he'll be interesting. And then Sardar Hawley, it's just a test if he plays round 0, but we'll wait and see. Dylan Shields has been doing pretty well off halfback from training reports and from other fellow content creators that could be a little bit of a nuisance if he does play and Hawley doesn't, which would mean we'd have to shift and probably play one of the key backs off the bench. Maybe Caleb Smith becomes a lot more popular at that point. If we go to the defenders here, just look at it. Where does Caleb Smith fall in? Let me just try and find Caleb Smith. Caleb Smith's actually pretty low down at 3.2%. Maybe he's sort of had the same thing. Riley Bice, I expect not to play as a Sydney fan, but we'll wait and see on that one. So that ownership should drop there from Bice. Nick Dacos, I think a lot of this could be potentially FOMO. But I think with the fixture this year, with him having the round 3, we know Mills, Coleman, Bailey Smith, etc. You're starting to get too many guys, even if you spread them. So across the lines. So at that point, I just feel like he's not going to go extremely off the hook. If we go here to Nick Dacos, you'll see exactly what I mean with Nick Dacos. If he goes, say, I think it's semi-realistic to say he goes 120. 120 would see him gain 60k. And that's with GWS, who's going to put a tag on him in round 0. But say he goes 120 throughout, except for this opening round where he goes 80. Look at this. He's suddenly just needing... Let me see if I can get this. If he goes 85 in opening round, he's pretty much destined to be at the same price in round 4 that he was at his own same, like at the 1.074 million. He'll be at the same price if he goes 120 in the other 2 games. Plus also he's got Carlton post-bye, which you don't want. Sydney and Brisbane, that could be a horrific run. He averages 85, and 105 against those 3 opponents. So, like, he doesn't average, and I know this is his youthful career, so he does have a couple of games can be very skewed with small sample sizes, but I don't like that run of 4 teams below 96 or 95, I guess, is the highest in the Western Bulldogs. I do like his post-bye run. His post-bye run is pretty good. Hawthorn does suck, but he does have a massive injury game in there. But you look at that run and you go, yep, I can stomach that for the rest of the year. So yeah, there is that. You could even sort of just grab him up, I feel like, for round 9 or 10. That's probably the start that I would start to consider him if he's top 10-ish material, because if he's going top 10 after the all of the, what are they, taggers, then I feel like he would do really well. I forgot what it was for a second, but anyway, Will Ashcroft, this is just potential based selections, and also he does have the early bye, which can be a little bit annoying. We know we've done the maths here, but he is one of those guys that if he gets away early and has a good role, is the type of guy that you can win selecting him early. So definitely a guy that you should consider. Clayton Oliver is pretty much the gimme pick out of the mid prices, it feels like. Will Day, been training a little bit up forward, but I feel like that's just sort of where can he play, can he rest on field rather than on the bench. And definitely a guy that I'm looking at in opening round, because as I said, with the likes of Ashcroft, I feel like Day is the type of guy that can put 25 points on his average. And 25 points on his average, no matter what happens with opening round, etc., and having that early bye, he's going to be value. And if you can hold him for the first sort of, with that round 15, if you can hold him for the first 13, 14 weeks of the year and trade him off in round 14 or round 13 even, he could be your gateway, honestly, to getting Jason Horne-Francis. And then just playing Jason Horne-Francis in the middle for a week or two and then transferring him into the forward line. But he could be your gateway to getting Jason Horne-Francis, and effectively getting Jason Horne-Francis with a trade priced at 74. That's what I'm thinking about with Will Day. Isaac Cumming, he was very, very close if we go to the midfield ownerships. If you look at them, Peatling and Cumming are like neck and neck. Cumming's just come back from an injury in pre-season itself. Peatling looks locked on, so this is not how my team's going to probably structure up, I would feel like. I feel like I'd go Peatling over Cumming, but this is Team Vanilla, so we know that people are going Cumming over Peatling, and this is mostly probably because Cumming could be potentially a top 8, 10 defender, whereas Peatling's probably going to be a trade out, but I feel like Peatling's just going to average more than Cumming, simply put, because Cumming's sort of playing that wing half-back role, which can be tedious. So there's that. Smiley, his ownership's going to fall through the floor, I feel like, with that setback, but then again, it could rise straight back up. It's probably going to yo-yo through preseason until we get confirmation whether he's going to play round 1 or not. So yeah, he's probably going to yo-yo and go down today because of the reports of him sort of having a setback. So we'll see his ownership drop. You'll probably see Harvey Langford's go up, I feel like, because they're sort of a direct sort of 1-2. Jagger, obvious selection, I feel like, at this point. I didn't actually reorder the rookies here, but yeah, we'll just reorder them. Sam Layla's 40%, Jagger Smith 50%, Sid Draper 49.5%, so they're sort of all there, and Levi's at 56%. Yeah, you can just see that all of the top mids are basically being selected at this point, outside of Langford and Foz. Foz is just an impact player. I don't think he plays off half-back. Plays more forward of the ball, which could be a little bit annoying for the North. And then Harvey Langford plays, he should have a really good role, to be honest, Harvey Langford. Moving on, Tristan Cherry is the obvious ruck at the moment with all of the injuries. Even though I don't like it necessarily, it seems the obvious option at 53% ownership. You're probably at that ownership, and with all the other injuries in the ruck line, if we go to that ruck line quickly, you'll see Romo's going to go down dramatically, and then the next ruck really that has highish ownership that's going to damage you is Tim English. He might not even play round 1 against North. And do you really want rucks battling off against each other? And I feel like that's a good matchup for Tristan Cherry anyway. So yeah, Tristan Cherry, I feel like, and this is what I was saying in the ruck line itself, and this will be a lot easier to show. If we go this for Tristan Cherry and say that he's going to average 105 from the first 3 weeks, you will see that will slowly dip him down 36k. And say that, where is he? Sean Darcy goes 105, 100 the first 3 weeks. That will get him up almost 100k, and you will have closed the gap of 798k to, so that is a gap of 23 off of 400. So that's a gap of 377k, and you will close it to 888, about 254k. So you will close it by about 120k in the space of 3 weeks if they both go 105. If Cherry goes 105 and Sean Darcy goes 100. So that's very, very intriguing. And the same can be said about like if a TDK goes a 105, that gap just dramatically closes. And that's how I feel like could happen over a 5-6 week thing. So that's just very, very intriguing in my opinion. But Tristan Cherry feels like the obvious ruck at the moment, given all the Marshall might not play round 1. Gawn's already been injured. Tim English is injured as well. Sean Darcy's gone to Cutter, but Cutter probably should help him. Luke Jackson probably is just a forward. Jordan Sweet's numbers don't pop off the page. Lloyd Meek doesn't either, to be honest with you. And then you've got down to Brody Grundy has the early bye. Matt Flynn doesn't jump off the page. Darcy Cameron has the early bye. And suddenly it's basically Toby Nankervis is like 30-something anyway. So you're basically down to Tristan Cherry and one of TDK or Sean Darcy. And TDK could double ruck, which would kill him. So yeah, that's pretty much that. And then Max Heath, I believe, is the most owned third ruck. Then we get to the forward line, Jason Horne-Francis. I don't like this necessarily too much. I feel like he's more of a player that you can get in the back end, and I've been talking heavily about actually having options in round 13 to trade your 14, 15, 16 bye players off in. So, and that will capitalize the most because you're going to be able to cover your round 13 very, very easily, it being the 2-team bye. So, having the option to trade for Jason Horne-Francis in round 13 will be huge. I feel like he might be the most owned player outside of outside of a rookie in that round, because everyone's going to be going, I can get off of, I don't know, Elijah Hewitt might not survive there. Dan Curtin, obviously, with his roll change might not. But at that point, let me just check. Sid Draper, could he be? Yeah, Sid Draper, potentially Jagger Smith might still survive. Let's say a Levi Ashcroft. You could maybe, for argument's sake, combine Sid Draper, Levi Ashcroft, and Saad Al-Houli. Let's just put those 3 names together. You can combine Sid Draper, Levi Ashcroft, and Saad Al-Houli to Jason Horne-Francis, maybe a Luke Parker potentially, and some rookie, or something like that, let's give or take. And that's how you play around and you get off of guys like that, or you get off of a James Peatling and a Sid Draper, etc. And that's how you do it. But I want to keep that option open, especially with owning Tristan Cherry rather than in this team's vanilla scenario, not doing that. McRae, obvious pick. Philippi, we talked about him yesterday, and he's already dropped. We said 48.7% yesterday, already dropped 17%. Talked about it in the intro. He's going to drop further. He's going to plummet to 8%, 6%, and then at the start of round 1 probably be 4%, I would think. A lot of people will probably just keep him in his side and already have dead sides, but yeah. There's obviously restructuring needed. If we go to the forward line, you'll see that the ownership of Riley Sanders is on the move up. Dylan Moore also is just people want keepers. Isaac Rankin's already tweaked his hammy in training, it sounds like. So, yeah, he's already got horrific hammies at like 26, is it? 24, he's already got horrific hammies. So, yeah, I wouldn't go there with, Horne-Francis, with Rankin. Okay, then we have Bailey Smith, the knockdown pick. Caleb Daniel, another easy selection. These two are both, I think, 60% owned. 69 and 61. Elijah Hewitt, this is an obvious pick, just because he goes 60, 65. Let's actually show you the projections of Elijah Hewitt doing 65. If we just go down to Hewitt here, Elijah Hewitt, if we do, say, 65 here, you'll see that 65 in the first 3 rounds gets him up 126k. 126k in 3 rounds is huge. Say he has a bumper game of let's just say a 75, even though that isn't really a bumper game. then that suddenly gets him up another like 15k for 10 points. So yeah, easy to get that. And I just want to see if, so 458, if I get that 75 here, 476. So yeah, that 75 early does really help. So if he has something like that, but if he has a 90 game, then that suddenly just balloons out. So yeah, if he can have an early big bumper game, suddenly you're looking at him being 500k and 500k, 170k in cash gen. He's almost done his job. So yeah, and that would be him averaging like 73, 74. That's not even outlandish. Like, so yeah, you could easily see him doing something like, I could easily see him doing something like this early and getting to 500k very quickly, 512k after a 90, 65, 80 projection. So that's why he's in most teams. Dan Curtin, he's been flipping back and forth between playing mid and playing exclusively forward in match sim. So he's probably the one that's going to fall. I feel like in terms of ownership, I don't know if he's necessarily ready yet for that on-ball role, and they still seem to have Matt Crouch just angled in at that on-ball position, which it's not good for Adelaide, simply put, to have Matt Crouch there, I don't believe. So anyway, Daniel Curtin needs probably another year, it sounds like, but we'll happily take him as another forward, even if it's a mid-pricer type scenario. But yeah, he's currently 35% of teams, that's going to drop, and Isaac Kako, 37% of teams, that's probably going to drop as well. Well, that's going to be round 0 dependent, I should say, and then Zach Reed, round 0 dependent as well. But I thought I'd just produce a fantasy team vanilla video for you guys, going through all the players that are very almost obvious gimme selections, as well as how it's going to fluctuate with the Philippou news, as well as Kitty Coleman, as well as Josh Smiley injury reports. Well, you can almost include Dan Curtin in that as well. But yeah, we have a lot of reports about them sort of not playing their exact positions, or the positions we want, I should say, or just going down injured. So anyway, if you guys did enjoy that, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload. If you're listening on Spotify, give me a follow and a rating over there, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.